It's going to be nice, though. I think getting out of the spotlight and just getting to live my life and do things that I want to do, and not have to sit and I love talking to all of you, but it's going to be nice to not have to sit in front of a microphone, multiple times a week. I really appreciate all of you, but it will be nice to kind of get away and relax for a little bit.
As the WNBA is going crazy over her confirmed huge contract in Europe, take a look at how pleased CaitlinClark is after leaving the toxic society.
I keep getting notification in people commenting under my shorts videos that CaitlinClark's gone. She's left the WNBA. What is going on? I don't believe that.
What started out as a rumor has turned into a harsh reality, and the league is in such a panic that they have even sacked Christy Sides from the Indiana Fever.
Christy Sides' time as the coach of the Indiana Fever is very likely coming to an end. It looks like they are trying to completely shut it down.
There's absolutely no need for Caitlin to stay, but what are the specifics of her new European deal? The commotion is real, and everything seems to be breaking apart. Let's examine her Nike contract with the WNBA, what will happen with it, and how the legal proceedings will proceed.
There are already so many players heading overseas to play during the off-season.
Does she have the build to play in the WNBA?
From the beginning, it was evident that the WNBA should focus entirely on building their future around CaitlinClark. However, they have managed to make a huge mess of things, and now that Clark is leaving for Europe, they are in complete panic because they are going to lose the league's cash cow.
She's just not built for the physicality of this league. Yeah, and she's not quick enough to get away from the physicality.
If you're wondering why, let's talk about Caitlin's rookie season. To say it was incredible would be an understatement. She wasn't just good, she was electrifying. Her three-point shots were coming from a different time zone, her court vision was ridiculous, and the fans were swarming the arenas.
People are tuning in. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. I have not tuned in 1 second since CaitlinClark was eliminated, but that's not unusual for me.
Television ratings that broke records. CaitlinClark was in full force when she gave the WNBA much-needed attention and brought them into the spotlight, whether they were prepared for it or not. She wasn't just a rookie, though, she was the one who had the potential to take the league to new heights, and they did nothing to appease her.
But yes, she will have a target on her back as well.
Behind the scenes, the story was different. Clark was undoubtedly helping the WNBA's ratings, but rather than receiving the respect she deserves, she was practically being thrashed on the court every night. The league was sitting there with their popcorn, watching everything happen, and it seemed like they didn't realize she was their golden goose until, oops, she was gone.
She's been box office, she was the main attraction, and there were so many storylines that's been associated with her. Most recently, the whole thing with her and Cheryl Swoops, even though it really wasn't her. It was Cheryl Swoops and all this. Every time you turned around, there was something that she had to deal with.
Now that Caitlin has had enough, she is packing up and leaving for Europe, where she will likely be treated like the basketball princess she is. Meanwhile, the WNBA is panicking, wondering how in the world they can manage to keep fans engaged. Mark, an ESPN question, is having a tantrum while attempting to act as though they have any influence over the situation. Spoiler alert, they don't.
Get caught for some technical fouls. She struggled with physical defense she's faced at the professional level and voiced frustration with the league's officiating, recently telling reporters, quote, "I feel like I'm getting hammered and everybody is physical with me, and opponents get away with things that other people don't get away with." That's what CaitlinClark said.
Clark is done with the disrespect, the lack of protection, and the WNBA's belief that they could coast on her talent without really helping her. Let's not forget what she endured while playing in the league. It wasn't your average rookie roughing up. Instead, it was next-level brutality every game. It seemed like players were fouling her like it was a contact sport, and the referees were completely incompetent. There were times when it appeared as though Clark was being tackled, and the referees were just standing there like what was happening. It's no surprise that she began calling them out in interviews, stating that she felt like she was getting hammered out there and that she wasn't exaggerating.
I keep getting notification in people commenting under my shorts videos that CaitlinClark's gone. She's left the WNBA. What is going on? Like, I don't believe that.
The WNBA allowed other players' jealousy to run wild instead of intervening to defend their best player. Veterans weren't coaching Clark. Instead, they were making fun of her. It wasn't just about basketball anymore. It was personal, and the league just stood by and did nothing while now paying the price. The WNBA had every chance to make CaitlinClark the face of women's basketball and build their entire brand around her, but instead they let her get beaten up on the court and ignored her value. Now that she's gone, they're in disarray as they try to figure out how to keep people watching without their biggest star. Hey man, your meal ticket is under constant attack. She's taking her skills to Europe, where, let's be honest, they'll probably throw her a red carpet. Dirty plays have been made every season. ESPN is also in a frenzy since, guess what? All of the viewers they were counting on to increase their numbers vanished in an instant, leaving the league scratching their heads and wondering what went wrong. The simple fact is that they didn't respect CaitlinClark, and now they're paying the price. Not only is Clark's decision to move to Europe a victory for her, but it serves as a wake-up call for the WNBA and ESPN, who took her for granted and now have nothing better to do than act outraged as the athlete who will shape their future leaves them in the dust.
Hey man, your meal ticket is under constant attack. There's been dirty plays all season.
When CaitlinClark exploded into the WNBA scene, ESPN was living the dream. It was obvious that she wasn't just another rookie. Rather, she was a game changer from the moment she set foot on the court. ESPN went all out to promote CaitlinClark as the next big thing in women's basketball because they saw dollar signs for future headlines and a swarm of new fans eager to board the CaitlinClark bandwagon. And guess what? It worked. Clark's games are instant. She was their golden ticket, and they loved every minute of it as Blockbuster's viewership figures soared and ESPN rode that wave like it was the only show in town.
Those guys, they're the racists, when really, y'all are the racists. The people coming up with excuses to hate CaitlinClark and the new fan base that she brought.
However, we must not overlook Chelsea Carter's little stunt, which is a classic because, after she poked Clark's eye, nearly blinding her for the duration of the playoff game, there was no ejection or actual punishment meted out. It seemed as though the WNBA's Casual Tuesday was the message that the season was open on CaitlinClark and that no one was intervening to stop it.
The Michael Jordan of the WNBA was assaulted, has a black eye during the second half of the game because Dejanay Carrington stabbed her with her fingernails in the eye. I believe it's, side 11. Could we just play this on a loop? I'm not exaggerating.
Additionally, during her rookie season, Clark was the target of 177% of the NBA's egregious fouls. Let that sink in for a moment. She wasn't just singled out more than anyone else, she was essentially a magnet for cheap shots, and 80% of those fouls were from the Chicago sky.
And then all of a sudden your hand turns downwards and straight into the eye of the biggest star in the WNBA. It's not a natural act. And I called it out yesterday in real time watching the game. Like, hey, that was on purpose. That was not an accident.
Carter's shoulder check was only the beginning. During a game where the score wasn't even close, players from Diamond to Shields went one step further and ran her over out of rage. ESPN continued to do business as normal, taking advantage of Clark's fame while she was out there getting pounded, but remaining mute and not criticizing the league or demanding more protection.
There's also a stat that came out a few weeks ago that said CaitlinClark received 17% of the WNBA's flagrant fouls this season, and 80% of those flagrant fouls were committed by the Chicago Sky against CaitlinClark. Now, this one that we see right here that I believe should have been a flagrant foul was not called that. So there have been cheap shots, there have been hard fouls, there have been other plays that haven't even been called flagrant fouls.
And the dynamics in the locker room were considerably worse. It wasn't the kind of environment where a star could thrive, and Clark wasn't just dealing with cockroaches and physical violence on the court. She was also dealing with a toxic environment within the league itself, where veterans viewed her as a newcomer who didn't deserve the attention she was receiving and did everything in their power to push her out. They no longer saw Clark as someone who might elevate the league as a whole, but rather as a liability who threatened the existing quo.
Let her cook. Y'all stop being petty. Stop being catty, cause she like a double-edged sword. She couldn't tell left and right. and it's bothering y'all, and I see it.
The WNBA's inability to see Clark's worth until it was too late is astounding. They had a player who surpasses legends like Sue Bird and Diana Taurasi not only in skill but also in impact. Although both players are game icons, they didn't garner the same level of attention or revenue as Clark did in her rookie season. Nevertheless, the WNBA did not do enough to protect her, allowing her to leave, and now they face the fallout.
Your biggest star, your meal ticket, the reason why you have relevancy, just got stabbed and assaulted, and nothing.
ESPN is in complete meltdown mode now that Clark is gone, as they scramble to keep up with their viewership numbers plummeting without the one athlete who was attracting all of the fans prior to her announcement. ESPN is aware that they're struggling to find ways to keep viewers interested, but without Clark, they're running out of tricks. WNBA games featuring Clark drew close to 2 million views, while the rest of the league barely made it with 400,000. Even worse, ESPN is aware that they could have done more. They could have used their enormous platform to criticize the WNBA for allowing their biggest star to be thrashed night after night and demand better officiating and harsher sanctions for the players pursuing Clark, but instead they did nothing. They just sat back, heightened the drama, and continued to count the viewers as they picked up the pieces, now wishing they had taken action while they had the chance.
Never experienced the racial comments from the Indiana Fever fan base. It's unacceptable, honestly. We've been professional throughout the whole entire thing.
And Clark.
Since CaitlinClark was the NBA's golden goose and the player who could have led them into a new era of success, the league let her leave due to internal politics and petty rivalries. Now, as they try to determine what went wrong, it's obvious that they allowed their best player to leave without a fight, and they will be affected for a very long time.
It doesn't matter who you are, what rookie you are, vets are coming at your neck. Because we're here to show you, like, this is a grown women's league, and this is the best league in the world for a reason. So it doesn't matter who you are.
I'll look back in 20 years and be like, yeah, the reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person, it's because of me too, and I want y'all to realize that.